I'm on the fence too of, is this organic or is this manipulation? I think that maybe it's a bit of both when speaking about Pulse Chain specifically, because it's pretty convenient that it's around the big court dismissal date, right? That's pretty convenient time to be pumping. But then again, it could be natural in respect to a buy the rumor, sell the news event, right? That could be going on because people, there's a lot of talk out there right now, like, oh, Richard's pumping, Richard's going to pump it
Well,
to stack price. So
well,
maybe people are buying thinking that he's going to pump it, you know? So I think it's a weird mess of that because I don't really see our social awareness growing as Pulse Chain. I don't really see a lot of new money coming in. So the pump kind of doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
well, see, now this is where we've got the disbelief rally. But, like, so before this pump happened, you know who called this pump? Me. I said, hey guys, so look at this. Look at this chart. Look at this. It's right after you and Don were so depressed and I was making those comments there. But I'm like, look at this chart. You see this? Count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red monthly candles. Now, everyone's got this look into RH site, and everyone has been making fun of RH because count the green candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He bet on a seventh bloody row, and then Ethereum went the other way. Go figure. And so, hey, look, again, 6 red candles. You guys really want to bet on a 7th month of red candles? This is basically at a point where statistically, like, just the market's so beaten. It's like another 6 months of bear market just got crapped on us right in the middle of what's supposed to be a bull run. Yeah, we were kind of due or a green month, like, just because. Like 6 red months. That's no matter, like, that's where, like, I want to be in disbelief, like, oh, can it really be organic? But at the same right, like a month ago, I'm like, yeah, we can't get a 7th red month in a row. It's just not happening, guys. Richard bet on 7 months in the same color in a row and got smacked for it, rightfully so. Anyone who bet on 7 red months in a row got smacked for it, rightfully so. I've said my piece.
So what do you foresee following this pump here? Is this the run? Are we gonna make higher lows where even if we do come back down, we're never going back down to 403? What are your ultimate thoughts there?
Well, I still think there's a little trauma, and I think if we take off too fast, it's going to cause issues because there's going to be a lot of desire to retest. So even if there is an entity manipulating from the background, because even he didn't want to see 7 months in a row, doing this, like having it just organically go step by step and having some natural pullbacks while we go from the confidence of disbelief to hope, that would probably be nice and healthy for the meantime for the month. But like I like normally Ash Crypto and those big influencers say really stupid things, but I think they've been listening to your friend Sami, and Ash said, hey guys, and which I think is really true. Until you eliminate all the, because Bitcoin's going down because it needs to eliminate all the longs. And suddenly, when the bears start calling for 40K and start to get confident and open their shorts, well, that's when we can finally go up in Bitcoin. So, I mean, real Uptober resumes as far as the leading indicator of Bitcoin at that point. Pulse has had a little bit of a really over-repressed last 6 months. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get some slightly, like, mostly to the right with only a touch up, like a lot of sideways, but a little stepping up while we wait on Bitcoin to shake out the longs and get some leverage shorts in so it can liquidate and go up because that's what it loves to do. It's just basically go after the leverage people. So we just have to wait for the bears to come out and start calling for 40K Bitcoin, and that should accelerate takeoff, I think. I hope that doesn't take longer than the halfway through October for people to stop believing on October, and then October can happen. That's my guess.
No, fair perspective. I see what you're saying. Because right now, Pulse chain is kind of, it's in a bit of a microcosm, right? The rest of the market is red, Pulse chain's up in the green. So I can see what you're saying there.
Well, yeah, because the rest of the market, like Bitcoin, went sideways for the last 6 months. Even though Ethereum got beaten, it only went down, I think, like 30 or 40% over the last 6 months, as opposed to Pulse Chain that went down another, like, oh god, we plummeted 85%, damn near, almost the point of like death. And then it's just started to recover again. So yeah, we're in a little bit of a microcosm where we're severely undervalued and underpriced, I think, compared to all the rest of the crypto chains at the moment still. So I think it's still a little sensitive for more up action than down at these price points, which makes us just a little bit brighter, a little bit juicier of a target just for right now. And hopefully we can draw in a larger amount of retail. Because I mean, even if it's not what you'd call retail rushing the chain yet, because they don't have the best access, we did get access to a central exchange again a month and a half ago. We've got a couple on ramp ways now, and so just the whales that got involved that haven't been shaken out, they've been waiting for, the cheap prices and tide to turn. And, even if it's not direct retail right now, this could just be actual whale investors that didn't get shaken out that are repositioning. Yeah, I don't know. It looks organic. I'm trying to stay optimistic.
What's interesting about the Pulse chain price is most people consider, the floor price, the starting price at 301. But I think that's also kind of a misnomer because A, the only people who would have gotten that price would have been the people that got in the first 5 days of the Pulse chain sacrifice and they would have gotten no volume bonus multiplier. So some of the whales, some of the sacrifice pools, their entry price is actually much lower. Or I don't know, I say much. It is factually lower. I don't know exactly, it ranges, right? I know that some sacrifice groups, I think that their entry price was like uh, 405 or 406, maybe somewhere even at 404. So they're already in profit range. And I think that's why we see some price suppression too, because they're still able to get out at break even or at some profit because they're able to exit at a lower position. So when the price is at what we're calling quote sack price or 301, they're actually at a 2x or a 2.5x. So that's another element there. But then you have the other side of that where people who didn't get in on the first 5 days of the sacrifice, they're actually they got in at a higher entry price than 301. I know some people who are in on day like 14, 15, and they were paying where people on day one without the volume bonus were paying, I think it was $1 per, or it was $100 per million, right? I think that's what it was. People were paying $100 per 100,000 at some point in the sack. So you have people who instead of 301, their sack price is somewhere between 201 or 2023, stuff like that. So if people haven't DCA'd in and are still waiting for their original investment to come back, some people they have, I guess at this point, a 50x to go. So there's that 301 price that we use as the measuring stick. I think I don't feel like it's a very accurate measuring stick.
Well, it all comes down to perspective. Like that's where like you have people that paid a lot more and people that paid a lot less, and you're looking for an average price, a streamline, something that's simple to calculate. It's something that's easy for people to put their teeth into. It's just an easy number to hanker on to. And I don't know, myself over this past year with the fluctuations where it's been double sack and then down as far as like 70% under sack. And I have accumulated at pretty much all price points, well, a lot more that were closer to the whale price points. Like I'm happy at my entry. I missed the original sack. I wasn't here that early. But like, I mean, yeah, I mean, when it comes to the big whales, completely right that their entries were closer to half of SAC price or 60% under SAC price and in and around there. And there's a lot of people that paid a lot more. So when you're looking at it, it's like it is such a wide range of things that yeah, there's a psychological range I think that's just baked into that SAC price at $1 per 10,000 coins that people just won't be able to shake until we hit some other price points. Like, I mean, I've noticed, like, even with meme coins trading, like, it's weird how they hit psychological caps. Like, oh, 250,000, that's a little shaky. Now we got to do a pullback psychologically, like, regardless of the actual price of the token, regardless of that, it's just trading on the market cap. So, I mean, there's little things where, like, all right, it's possible that we've got that psychological hump to deal with. And until we get past it, we won't even really see what the next one is. So I don't know. I don't know. Everyone, I think, one way or another, is also going to continually talk about that price point until it's so far in the rearview mirror that they just pull it up as still a glory thing, like hoorah. Because you'll still have people complaining, well, you can't use the bottom. I mean, how people got in there? Of course, this time it's like, well, the bottom was around for months, so lots of people did. That's the answer to that one. But I don't know. Like you pull up a fair point where it is such a wide range that it is kind of like unfair to keep going to that. But I mean, it's easy, and I mean, how do you make another price point catchy to use other than the base rate without SAC modifiers?
No, those are valid points all around. I do hear exactly what you're saying. It is the number that we're using for a metric of success or baseline. So at this point, I think it's too ingrained to go on a let's change this campaign, and even if we did change it, what would we change it to? Because the numbers are too all over the place. But it probably does break down to somewhat of an average.
To talk a little bit of the game voodoo, anyone that still likes TA, there's the golden cross they talk about, like when the 100 days moving average crosses the 200 days moving average. But beyond that, so if you look at our pulse chain chart on DAI and you apply the 100 days moving average, you'll see we crossed that, went back to it, tested it, confirmed it, went back up, retested the previous high, and moved on higher. Then, if you load up to the 200 days moving average, you'll see we came up to it, we tested, we pulled back. Then we hit the psychological kind of high of half of SAC rate, 4 zeros and a 5, I think, if I'm not misquoting. That always gets a little messed up. I can't wait till there's only 2 zeros. But anyway, came back to retest, and it's moving sideways under the 200 days moving average, which is basically a consolidating. Yes, a consolation move where it's consolidating its energy and it'll break to the up or downside. But I mean, so far the trend of this disbelief rally has been up. And if we do break that 200 days moving average, basically then we're psychologically starting to look at a whole different set of resistance points where we may move rapidly towards SAC rate again. We'll probably have a little pause around 4 zeros and a 7. But I mean, you got to start moving into other time ranges and other daily averages to really start finding some good resistance points until you get a little higher. So I think in the around 3/4 of SAC price, 4 zeros 7 5 to about 15% under SAC price, we might see some consolidation again while the market's deciding, is this too much? Is it too fast? Are we going to pull back? Or are we going to go test SAC rate? I don't know. Right now, we're skirting with that 200-day moving average. That if we can crack over it, stay over it, and suddenly the 100 crosses it, we are definitely confirmed off to the races. But at that point, we'll have already missed so much of the move. Well, anyone who didn't get in, like I did already all this last year and a half, so I'm quite happy. I'm not missing anything.
Pulled the chart up to look, and I just realized a crazy statistic in that Pulse Chain hasn't even 2x yet. Can you believe that? Pulse Chain has never done a 2x. Now it's 2x since it's fallen, but its high was 3018. So from what we're considering to be the baseline, Pulse Chain hasn't even 2x'd.
No, it's definitely sitting back, waiting to show something. I don't know. That's where we have had such an extraordinary amount of exiting. Like I've talked about seller exhaustion before. It happens to every market sooner or later. But Pulse Chain's been like just calling me a liar over and over, punching me in the face. But hey, I don't care if I'm a broken clock. At least, at least once or twice a day, I gotta be right. Seller exhaustion's gonna happen at some point. That's why I had to make a video last month to be like, don't bet on 7 red candles, man. And yeah, we got a green one for September, which is awesome. It's like everyone front ran October.
Yeah, optimistic, man. I think we definitely hit that disbelief pump. And I think the broader markets look pretty favorable for the bull to kick in full mode pretty soon. And I don't know, the ETH BTC ratio in the altcoin season really popped off. It was like December, January last cycle. So we could, could be just grinding for a little bit. But I think the bottoms are in here. Higher low coming. Maybe one more dip, one more opportunity. I think we're officially in buy dip mode though, for sure.
See, I'm very comfortable with my Pulse Chain position. I've got what I consider to be a big bag, and you know, if it goes to zero, my life is not going to be negatively impacted. Now, I don't want it to go to zero. I don't enjoy losing money, but I'm still going to pay my bills. I'm still going to feed my family. It's going to be okay. But on the flip side of that, if this thing does what we hope it can do, I, I'm going to be in a position where my life could be a little different.
Mm.
So, obviously, I wanted to go there, but I'm okay if it doesn't. But I ultimately do see, because I mean, like, I don't know if you were in here earlier, but I was looking at the chart as Top Gun was breaking it down. Pulse Chain hasn't even done a 2x yet. Isn't that a crazy thought?
Yeah, we did 2.7 at the launch. It went 2.7, but yeah,
Well, in respect to what people consider to be the quote floor price, not the factual price of what the
yeah,
chart shows, but sac rate, day one sac rate, right?
yeah.
301. From what that psychological level is, we only went up to
Well, that was the
3019.
second. After the first bottom, that was the second pump. But at launch, we went to 2.7. So technically, whatever.
Thanks. All right,
Well,
there
to
it is.
everybody else looking at the chart,
Hey,
I mean, you feel like that's not appealing to people like you. You feel like you haven't 3x yet, but I mean, the chart has. And Cinnamon token went like 20x, and then like what was it? Pulsex did, I don't know, 8, something like that. For everybody looking, right? And now we're back down to lows with the same opportunity, only to project to go higher than that. So I mean, it's pretty juicy for everybody looking around, especially now that we've kind of popped out into disbelief and kind of looking like we're coming out off the bottoms. So
yeah, and it's crazy to think about because, okay, so even if we count our low, which I believe, I'm not even going to look at my phone chart anymore, was like 403, right? That range. I don't think we ever dipped below
yeah,
403.
That is
So
correct.
403 up to 30s. Let's just call it 303 for argument's sake, even though it was 28. So that technically, if we go back up to
another
previous
10x.
all time high, if anybody, that could be a 10x right there. Yeah.
Yuppers. That's what I'll be enjoying.
And we should triple that. So, I mean, at least.
Wait, these other L1s doing hundreds of X's, thousands of X's,
Yeah,
millions of X's. And we're talking about from our bottom to potential all time high is only a 10X.
yeah. And I mean, come on, man. Like, I mean, we're gonna do our thing, dude. Richard has obviously shown he's not afraid to pump this fucker, and I think that's exactly what he intends to do anyway. He's not gonna let this thing go to waste, and he's got, I think, big chips on his shoulder to do so. Like he seeks retribution from all the hate, the court case, the gatekeeping, this, that, and the other. He's already going to show he doesn't give up. He'll still pump the chart. It's gonna go down either way, man. He's not gonna go down without a fight. And do you think this motherfucker is going to pull out any stuff? Like, it's full stop, bro. I can't wait. The fireworks are going to be glorious.
The only stop, I don't want to say the only, I think a major stop would be he's not going to liquidate all of his assets to pump it if he's going out. He's going to keep some money, right? There's a limit,
Yeah,
obviously.
we really don't need much, honestly. These pools and the way he's designed them and the way they've been set up, and if you study a little bit about him dropping some knowledge on it, it's like, doesn't take much, man. You 4x the price by doubling the offer, or whatever. The money on one side, you 4x the price if you double that. So, I mean, just do the math on how much ETH there is there. And, if when ETH gets up to 7 to 15K, that's billions. So, I mean, it has potential to do. I mean, just Pulsechain. This is probably going to be the least multiplier. The other altcoins will, do multiples like we talked about. Pulsechain did 6x from the bottom. Ink did like 20, and then somewhere in the middle is Pulsex. But we'll see them outperform here and there. Hex is doing some things too. Got thin liquidity.
Where do you think Hex is going?
Oh God, I don't know. I hope $1.50, man. That would be nice to see them come back out swinging and actually put in a decent cycle. A second cycle. It's hard to believe, though. I mean, everybody diminishes their projections at the bottoms here, and so I think we're going to be. I think we'll be pleasantly surprised, and I hope it goes the distance. But I mean, yeah, I would say just saying Pulsechain, dude. I think we can do like 30 to 100x. I think we can get somewhere in that range. And so, well, I mean, Hex. I mean, if it gets $1.50, what is that? It's like 300x. Fucking hell. Doesn't take much to move it for long. And
Yeah.
it's just the things are all tied in tandem with liquidity and stuff. So it'll be an interesting dynamic to see how it all plays out. Because he can essentially pump anything with pumping any of these, right? I don't know that he ever goes the route of just pumping Pulsechain. He hasn't really done that. I mean, he's bought a little bit, but mostly he's been pumping the altcoins, which indirectly pump Pulsechain and incentive token. By the way, the liquidity is bonded. So they're all pretty caught up. Like Hex was the most beaten down, and I think that's why it ran. It was time to put more liquidity back into it, meaning the pulse ratio. It was the most wrecked in that. And so all these ratios have pretty much lifted up, and they're all pretty filled to an equilibrium, I'd say. So now it's just, I mean, one of the other pumps. I mean, they're all just riding up in USD, but we'll have. I'm curious to see what he's going to pump next. I thought it would be Hex next because of the liquidity, but we see this is pretty much organic. I don't see any activity of his wallets or anything on chain, and I watch that shit like a hawk. So I'm curious when he does come in for the next pump, which I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be pretty soon when all coin season comes out. I don't know. I guess he's going to maybe wait on the ETH to appreciate. But yeah, I wonder what pumps hard next. I mean, Pulsex is taken away right now, right? I think incentive token will be the sleeper next.